Imagine a queen, a sovereign born to rule, yet whose destiny twisted into a relentless saga of suffering. For 19 agonizing years, she was held captive, her world shrinking to the cold, unforgiving confines of various prisons, each day a slow, tormenting grind that relentlessly gnawed at her very soul. Her story culminates not in triumph or peace, but in a brutal and horrific death upon the executioner's block. This wasn't merely the quiet fading of a royal life. It was the ferocious climax of a bloody, desperate battle for the throne, a power struggle so utterly relentless that it not only claimed the life of this queen, but sent devastating shockwaves through the very foundations of England, leaving an indelible, haunting mark on its history for centuries to come. Today, we peel back the layers of time to confront the chilling narrative of this extraordinary queen. Her dazzling beauty, once a symbol of her unparalleled prestige, tragically became her most dangerous vulnerability, drawing her inexorably into a vortex of ruthless ambition, profound betrayal, and unyielding persecution. Her very existence, a cruel twist of fate, painted the raw, agonizing picture of the true tales of tortures. Prepare to witness a story where the relentless pursuit of power demanded the most agonizing sacrifice imaginable. Her tale of torment began almost at birth. Born in the bitter chill of December, just 6 days into her life, a tiny infant, she was proclaimed Queen of Scotland, a crown thrust upon a newborn at a time when her very survival was precarious, her kingdom gripped by political turmoil and conflict. Her claim to the throne, a source of constant danger, made her a pawn from the very beginning. To protect her and to secure a powerful alliance, she was sent away from her tumultuous homeland, whisked across the sea to the glittering, yet strangely confining world of the French court. Here in this golden cage she blossomed. Amidst the opulent palaces and the refined culture of France, she received a luxurious upbringing, far removed from the harsh realities of Scottish politics. She was tutored in languages, arts, and the intricate dances of courtly life, living as a princess, her destiny seemingly dictated by the grand designs of powerful monarchs. Her childhood culminated in a marriage to the young French Dauphin, Francis, elevating her status even further. For a brief, dazzling period, she wasn't just Queen of Scotland, she was also Queen of France, standing at the pinnacle of European power. The world lay at her feet, a future seemingly limitless. But this glittering ascent soon proved to be fate's initial snare. Just a little over a year into her reign as Queen of France, tragedy struck with the sudden, unexpected death of her young husband. The dazzling lights of the French court dimmed, and Mary found herself a widowed queen at just 18. This was the first major blow, an abrupt, shattering end to her glorious chapter, forcing her to confront a stark and uncertain future. Her golden cage, once a symbol of prestige, now felt like a lonely prison. The gilded walls of France, once her sanctuary, now felt like a gilded cage she had to escape. At just 19, Mary, Queen of Scots, made the perilous journey back to her homeland, leaving behind the sophisticated elegance she had known. But the Scotland she returned to was a stark contrast, a land simmering with intense religious and political turmoil. The Reformation had swept through, tearing apart the old order, and powerful, ambitious nobles vied for control, their loyalties as shifting as the Scottish winds. This was no gentle homecoming. It was a plunge into a viper's nest. Desperate to secure her position and perhaps find solace, Mary made a fateful decision. She married her cousin, Lord Darnley. It was a union meant to strengthen her claim, to stabilize her realm. Instead, it ignited an immediate and terrifying eruption of murders and treachery within her very own court. The ambitious Darnley quickly proved to be a volatile and jealous consort, demanding a greater share of power. Their union was poisoned by discord, resentment festering beneath the surface of royal splendor. The bloody game for the throne had truly begun. Just months after their marriage, Mary's Italian private secretary, David Rizzio, was brutally murdered right in front of her, an act orchestrated by Darnley himself. The walls of her palace echoed with screams, a chilling premonition of the horrors to come. Then a year later, the ultimate betrayal. Lord Darnley himself was mysteriously assassinated. His house was blown up, and his body found nearby, seemingly strangled. The immediate aftermath plunged Mary into a whirlwind of suspicion. Was she involved? Did she know? The ambiguity surrounding her role in this horrific event cast an indelible, haunting shadow over her. A question that would follow her relentlessly to her grave and ignite the whispers that fueled her tragic downfall. If you are enjoying the story, subscribe for more dark history tales and like the video. Your support helps us share these stories. The whispers surrounding Darnley's murder had barely faded when Mary made another catastrophic choice, one that would irrevocably seal her fate. In a move that shocked not only Scotland but all of Europe, she married James Hepburn, the Earl of Bothwell. This was no ordinary union. Bothwell was widely believed to be Darnley's murderer, a man of ruthless ambition and questionable character. This controversial marriage ignited a furious, full-blown rebellion amongst the Scottish nobility. They saw it as a betrayal, an unforgivable act that made her complicit in the very crime she claimed to abhor. The ferocity of this rebellion was overwhelming. Mary's forces, already fractured by internal dissent and waning loyalty, were swiftly defeated on the field. Cornered and betrayed, she found herself with no choice but to surrender. The demands of the rebellious lords were unequivocal. She must abdicate the throne. And so, in a moment of heartbreaking despair, Mary was forced to sign the documents, relinquishing her crown. The true tragedy, however, lay not just in the loss of her power, but in the agonizing separation from her only child. Her infant son, James VI, a mere 13 months old, was proclaimed King of Scotland. Mary, once a queen by birth, by marriage, by sheer force of will, was now a mother stripped of her child, a monarch stripped of her crown. This moment, raw and unbearable, marked the definitive beginning of her complete helplessness. The mighty Queen of Scots was now a prisoner, her future a terrifying blank canvas, painted only with uncertainty in the looming shadow of her enemies. Stripped of her crown, separated from her son, and facing an enraged nobility, Mary found herself in an impossible bind. Her only option, a desperate gamble, lay across the border. England. In May 1568, she fled, seeking refuge from her rebellious subjects. Was it hope that propelled her across the Solway Firth, a belief that her cousin, Queen Elizabeth I, would offer the sanctuary of one monarch to another? Or was it sheer, unadulterated despair, a last desperate act to escape certain doom in Scotland? The answer, as fate would cruelly reveal, was far from the solace she desperately sought. For Elizabeth I, Mary's arrival was not a plea for help, but a monumental threat. Mary possessed a compelling, legitimate claim to the English crown, a claim that many English Catholics championed. Elizabeth viewed her as a rival, a magnet for dissent, a dangerous catalyst for rebellion within her own realm. The prospect of Mary living freely, rallying support, or even marrying into a powerful European family was a risk Elizabeth could not afford. And so the brutal reality set in. Mary was not granted asylum. Instead, the moment she set foot on English soil, she stepped from one prison into another, plunged into a new prolonged captivity. This was not a mere inconvenience. It was the chilling inception of a 19-year confinement that would test the very limits of human endurance. Over the next 2 decades, Mary was moved from one castle to another, always under strict guard. Her world, once expansive and powerful, shrank to the suffocating confines of her prison walls. This was a grueling mental and emotional ordeal, a slow, relentless erosion of her spirit. She lived under constant surveillance. Every letter she wrote, every visitor she received, scrutinized and controlled. Communication with the outside world was severely limited. Her every move watched, her every thought suspected. It was a life devoid of genuine freedom, where the very air she breathed felt laden with the weight of unseen chains. For Mary, Queen of Scots, England became her final, agonizing prison. The web of conspiracies, each step towards execution. Imprisoned, yet far from powerless, Mary, Queen of Scots, remained a beacon of hope for Catholic loyalists and enemies of Queen Elizabeth. Though locked away in English castles, her name still echoed across Europe as the rightful heir. And in the shadows, her supporters plotted. One of the deadliest schemes was the Babington Plot, a tangled conspiracy in 1586 to assassinate Elizabeth and place Mary on the throne. At its heart, a young Catholic nobleman, Anthony Babington, blinded by devotion and stirred by whispers of divine destiny. Through a secret courier system, he sent coded letters to Mary, letters filled with promises of liberation and regicide. But Mary never realized. Every word she wrote was already in Elizabeth's hands. Behind the scenes, the Queen's master of espionage, Sir Francis Walsingham, orchestrated a masterstroke of surveillance. His spy network was vast, relentless, and terrifyingly efficient. Agents intercepted and decoded Mary's messages, then allowed the plot to ripen, just enough to ensnare her fully. And then came the smoking gun, a letter in which Mary agreed to the assassination of Elizabeth. It was over. The letter was damning, unmistakable, treasonous. Elizabeth was stunned. For years, she had resisted the growing calls to execute Mary. She feared the wrath of Catholic Europe, the stain of regicide, and perhaps even the judgment of her own conscience. After all, Mary was not only a queen, but kin. But now, she was a threat that could no longer be ignored. Mary was arrested, placed on trial, and found guilty of conspiracy against the crown. Yet even then, Elizabeth hesitated. The warrant sat unsigned. For days, her hand trembled over it, torn between duty and mercy. But the weight of her realm, its security, its future, pressed down on her. At last, she signed. And in that moment, the fate of Mary, Queen of Scots, was sealed, not just by politics, but by ink, fear, and betrayal. The dawn of February 8, 1587, broke cold and bleak, mirroring the somber mood that hung over Fotheringhay Castle. This was the day Mary, Queen of Scots, would meet her fate. She was led from her chambers, her head held high, a figure of unwavering dignity, even in the face of inevitable death. Dressed in rich black satin with crimson garments beneath, the color of martyrdom in the Catholic faith, she walked towards the great hall, which had been prepared for her execution. The air was thick with tension, filled with the hushed whispers of the witnesses. Noblemen and officials gathered for this grim spectacle. Her composure was astonishing. On the scaffold, she delivered a final, poignant speech, asserting her innocence, proclaiming her faith, and forgiving her executioners. Her last words were a prayer, uttered with unwavering resolve. Even as she knelt, her head positioned on the block, there was no sign of fear, only a profound sense of acceptance. Then came the horrific specifics. The executioner, perhaps nervous or inexperienced, delivered the first blow. It was a glancing strike, landing on the back of her skull, causing a collective gasp of horror from the onlookers. A guttural moan escaped Mary's lips, a raw, involuntary cry of pain. The silence that followed was broken only by the shuddering breaths of the witnesses. The second blow, though still not clean, finally severed her head. As it was held aloft by the executioner, revealing her graying hair and the small dog hidden beneath her skirts that now whimpered at her feet, the brutality and shocking finality of the event were undeniable. The brutal end of a queen, a powerful monarch, eternally etched the raw power struggles and their devastating consequences into the annals of history, a chilling testament to the price of a crown. Mary, Queen of Scots, may have met her brutal end, but her death was far from an ending for history. Her execution sent shockwaves across Europe, forever altering the intricate relationship between England and Scotland, and profoundly shaping the course of both nations. It solidified Elizabeth I's reign, yet it also left an undeniable scar on her legacy. For centuries, Mary's ghost would haunt the political landscape, her martyrdom a rallying cry for some, her alleged treachery a warning for others. Even today, her story continues to resonate with an unsettling power. It's more than just a historical account. It's a timeless saga of desperate love, chilling betrayal, the insatiable lust for power, and profound tragedy. Her life exposes the darkest, most complex aspects of human nature. Ambition overriding kinship, suspicion breeding paranoia, and the agonizing price of a crown. Mary's unwavering spirit amidst relentless adversity, her defiance in the face of insurmountable odds, makes her a figure of eternal fascination. Her tumultuous existence, from royal cradle to bloody scaffold, truly exemplifies a tale of tortures. A life defined by relentless internal and external agonies, a queen who found herself trapped in a cycle of suffering until her very last breath. Her story remains a haunting echo of the past, a potent reminder of the cruelties inflicted in the name of power. This was the tragic tale of a queen. If you found these dark chapters of history captivating, please be sure to give this video a like, share it with your friends, and don't forget to subscribe to our channel, Tales of Tortures, so you don't miss any thrilling stories. Until next time, keep exploring the further mysteries hidden within the pages of history.